Hello, scholars. So, at this point in your lessons and in the packets, you've completed a couple of examples that teach you about basic rhythm, teach you about the basic notes. We know about quarter notes and half notes and whole notes and how many beats those get. This time, we're going to be looking at the opposites of those. So, instead of notes, let me get a better pen. Instead of notes like this, quarter note that gets 1 beat, half note that gets 2 beats, and whole notes that get 4 beats. Now we're going to learn the rest. So rest lasts the same length, but in music, when you have a rest, you don't play anything, right? So for a quarter note, and we've looked at these once before, you have a quarter rest that looks like that. It gets 1 beat. For a half note, you have a half rest, and that is a line with a little bitty hat on top of the line, or a little block on top of the line, and that gets 2 beats. And then finally, the whole note has a whole rest, and instead of the block being on top, it goes below the bar. So you draw a little bar and have it below, and that gets 4 beats. Yeah? So that is how the beats work. That's how many, the rest work. That's how many beats they get. And those are the ones we're going to be using for this worksheet. So let's look at a few examples. The first thing I want to draw your attention to, just like all the other examples, is you have this handy dandy chart here at the top that explains everything that you need to know for the rest of the worksheet. So as we go through, you should continue to look up and reference everything. In fact, the stuff that I just drew on that second page is all right here. So if you get confused at any point or want to know what something looks like, you can see it right there. The next thing, and we're going to be using this at the bottom of the page for question number 5, is this part right here. So what this is showing you is that sometimes you have notes in different parts of the staff. So sometimes they're below the middle line here, sometimes they're above the middle line there. Basically, if they're on the middle line or above, the stem, which is this part of the note, is going to point down. And if they're below the middle line, the stem is going to point up. And notice that the stem is on the left-hand side when it points down, and it's on the right-hand side when it points up. Yeah. So we'll come back to that in a second. First, let's do a couple of the examples of the top 1, 2, and 3. So for number 1, it's really easy. If we follow the directions here, it says practice by drawing quarter rest over the dotted lines. And then it wants you to draw 4 quarter rest in each blank measure. So you're going to take your pencil and just fill these in as best you can. It's like a little lightning bolt. If you get confused, of course, you can look up here. And then it wants you to draw 4 in every bar. 1, 2, 3, 4, right? And you just do that for all the other bars. 2, 3, and 4. Right, and just fill it in for the last one. So that's super easy. Next, question 2 asks you to draw 2 half rests in each of the first 2 measures, and then draw 1 whole rest in each of the last 2 measures. So this measure here and this measure here are going to be our whole rest, and this measure here and this measure here are going to be our half rest. So remember, if we look up, a half rest gets 2 beats. This measure needs 4 beats. So I can't just do this. Right? That is not enough. That is only 2 beats. I need 4 beats. So that would be 1, 2, and draw a second one, 3, 4. And it wants me to do that in the first 2 measures, so I will do that again. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, the second part then is to draw 1 whole rest in each of the last 2 measures. So let's look up here. There's my whole rest. Okay, so that's what my whole rest looks like. And remember, it goes below the bar. So I'm going to draw 1 right here. Notice the line that I put the whole rest on. If you look here, your half rest is right on the middle line, and if you look here, your whole rest is on the next to top line, so make sure you put it there. And again, that gets 4 beats, so I only need to draw 1. Because I need 4 beats in a measure. These get 2 beats, and these get 4 beats. Cool. All right, moving on. Count, right, to count below the rest for number 3. This is just like we did on the last worksheet that you had. I think it was lesson 6. As we know, we need 4 beats in a measure, because our time signature tells us. So we're just going to count them. This would be 1, 2, 3, 4. Oops, nope, that's not 5, right? Because we have a bar line, and we know that whenever we have a bar line, we restart our counting. So we also have half rest. So this half rest would be 1 and 2. This half rest would be 3 and 4. Let me snap that so you can hear the difference. So I'm going to snap the first 2 measures of number 3. So here we go. It would go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. But in actuality, what the musician would be doing there is just resting. They wouldn't be making any noise. But that's what the rhythm would sound like. So you can fill in the rest of number 3. Again, reference the chart up here. This is a great chart. You should be referencing it all the time. Make sure you're always looking back up to that chart. Okay, next is very similar to number 3. Write the count below the notes like we were doing, and rest, and then add the missing bar lines. Now, we have a different clef here. We're in the bass clef now, but we have exactly the same count. We're still looking for 4 beats. So every 4 beats, we're going to draw a measure line. I'm going to help you out with that. So this would be beat 1, and it wants us to write the beats below. That would be beat 2. This half note gets 2 beats, so that would be beat 3 and 4. And then after I have 4 beats, I draw myself a measure line. Next, what's this funny symbol? When I look back up at the top, I can see that is a whole rest, and it gets 4 beats. So I'll write that it gets 1, 2, 3, and 4. And of course, I draw myself a measure line. This is a half note, so it's 1, 2. This is a half rest, so it's 3, 4. And you guessed it, a bar line. And I'll let you do the last 2 measures there for yourself. Now finally, this is the part I mentioned earlier where we're going to be referencing this part of the chart, where it's showing us where the stems go. The stems are these little, or some people call them the flag, are these little lines that come off of the notes, right? So I couldn't just write this and the musician know what to do. That's how we used to write music hundreds and hundreds of years ago. Now we have to have these stems to show us what type of note it is, okay? Now I mentioned if it is below the middle line, so that would be this one here, and this one here, and this one, and this one. They're all below the middle line. If it's below the middle line, the stem is on the left, or excuse me, on the right, and it goes up. So it would be like this. Right? And if it's on the middle line or above, so that would be this one, and this one, and this one, and this one, and so on, it goes, the line goes on the right and down, or excuse me, on the left and down. So it's like this. On the left and down, on the left and down, on the left and down, on the left and down. I never want to put it on the right and down. That's really, really bad technique. A musician would think that looks really weird. You also don't want to put it on the left and up. Okay? So we're having it on the left and down if it's on the middle line or above, and on the right and up if it's below the middle line. There we go. So I will let you do the last 2. If you wanted extra bonus practice, then you could go through and write the beats underneath. Should be pretty easy. Remember, each of those is a chord note, so only get 1 beat. Okay, if you have any questions, like always, you can email me at kyle.berry@myrvla.com. Okay, good luck. I hope you're staying healthy. And please, please, if you need any help, make sure to email me.